right. We just watched The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2, The Passenger, and we're here to talk about it and nerd out. And with me, I have, let's start with our newcomer to our recap show. Introduce yourself, kind sir.
Hi, everyone. Well, my name is Thomas Squires. I'm an actor, improviser, musician, aspiring director in Chicago. I love all things nerdy, particularly Star Wars. My uncle got me into Star Wars. Actually, he's like one of my younger uncles. My mom's got like 8 or 9 siblings, and he at one point in his life had collected one of every action figure from the original Kenner line all the way to episode 3. And he had all of them. He displayed them in his like office. And it was really cool. And then that big old '08 recession hit, and he's a union carpenter, so he lost his house. Like, it was really tragic.
Ugh.
And he couldn't afford to pay for the storage fees at a storage unit place, so they auctioned off the entire unit, and we
Oh
lost
no,
those toys. I
he
know.
lost it to Storage Wars.
Lost the
Oh
Oh,
storage
no,
wars. So
that's so
somebody somewhere
tragic.
got like a massive haul of Star Wars toys in this big unit for like, $80
oh my God,
or something. It was rough.
that
But
is heartbreaking.
That is
but yeah,
heartbreaking.
love Star Wars, and I'm so glad to be here to chat with you fine people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit more about some more stuff Thomas is going to be doing for the channel, as I'm very excited about. We'll talk about that later. Also with me is my partner in crime, Ray. Ray, how you doing, Ray?
I'm doing all right.
You doing all right? Good. That's good. That's good. And of course, I'm Maui, and we're going to talk about The Passenger. So let's just get into it. Let's start with the cold open, which I'm going to do same thing I did last week. I have little names for each scene as I see it.
Sure.
So we're going to start with the ambush. The ambush. Okay, so I thought this was a pretty strong opening. I don't know about you
Yeah.
two. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was fun. I definitely was like, I was wondering the whole time. I went like, okay, are they gonna like OP the Mandalorian? Because he kind of is. Like, he doesn't seem to struggle in any of the fights. Uh, he's just kind of like, he'll like wait, and then like, and everybody's down. So I was
Mhm.
kind of waiting for, like, they're setting this trap and they're doing the thing, and I was kind of waiting for him to just be like, oh, I see it, and like snipe them, and like they like never were actually a threat. So it was kind of nice to see him get taken by surprise.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty interesting. And I get really upset whenever physical harm comes to Baby Yoda.
Oh, I know.
So like
Well, of
seeing Baby
course.
Yoda like in a speeder crash was
Ugh.
extremely upsetting for me.
And you could hear it. You heard it tumble through the sand, like. But I was
And
like,
making the sad little baby noises. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing to Baby Yoda?
I think I made more noises, like out loud noises, while watching this with my headphones on in, a room by myself than I have for a lot of episodes. Like, a lot of episodes I've watched of any show, but like this time I kept being like, "Oh no, like I wish I had like the soundtrack to my watching this episode.
oh yeah,
That was the
oh
first
yeah,
one. The first one was like, "Oh no, Baby
Right.
Yoda!"
And I'll say, like, but then right once the Mandalorian gets up, he makes pretty quick work of them. Like you said, he is an extremely skilled fighter. They're in over their heads. If you don't
yeah,
kill him at the beginning, you're fucked.
right.
you know, um, it did lead to a wonderful moment. I loved seeing him stop and like realize, my child is in danger. It's cool. Come on, man. What do you want? What do you want? You want my
Yeah.
jetpack? Here you go. You can have my jetpack. It's all good. It's all
I
good.
I okay, so I did watch like that cold open twice because my friend was like, "Hey, we're on the Discord now," and I was like, "Okay, I'm only like 5 minutes in. I'll restart the episode." I don't know how he knew he wanted the jetpack. Like, I don't. Watching it twice. I was like, because he didn't speak. They didn't speak the same language.
No.
Like, it was gestury kind of stuff, and I was like, I don't know how you got that he wanted the jetpack. I thought he wanted him to like get down on the ground and like, you know, like put his hands on his head or something. I
Right.
was like, I don't know how you got jetpack out of any of that.
Especially because it seemed like they were setting him up for a trap to take the child from him. And then this dude was like, well, I mean, I guess if I just give him the kid, like I guess a jetpack is a
Right.
comparable reward.
Which brings me to my question about that character. It spoke like a Jawa, but it kind of looked like a Tito
Mm-hmm.
from Jakku. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
So I wasn't sure what exactly it was. My buddies on the Discord were like, "Oh, it's a Jawa," and I was like, "Oh, it just sounds like a Jawa." But it doesn't look like one because like Jawas are Jawas. We haven't seen a variant on a Jawa ever. We like
Right.
you leave them as their robed little beady-eyed selves.
Yeah.
So
It
I'd be
sounds like
interested to
a
see
Star
the
Wars like Steve Harvey book, like think
right.
like a Jawa, speak like a
I'd
It
be
was
interested
a
to see
little.
what Wikipedia says in like 2 weeks. They're like, oh, that guy, that's a
I
Tito.
did look it up. I think did they name it? I did. Let me pull up because I do have Wikipedia up on that
Of course
episode.
they
At
do.
least I did have it up on that episode. And then I went down
This
to
thing
Trapper
came out
Wolf.
less than 24 hours ago. I can't believe this.
Wikipedia usually uploads pretty
Is
fast.
that so? Is that still like a crowdsourced thing, or does Disney come in and like have a hand in it?
I mean, it seems to still be crowdsourced, but like it's pretty quickly. Like there's a scene by scene plot summary already.
Oh my god,
Um, it looks like it's a Nikto.
a Nikto?
Yeah, looks like that. Well, that was the leader.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm talking about the short
Okay,
guy.
no, but the short guy. It just says an alien.
Okay, yeah. So they're not even sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
The
I don't
lead
think
guy
they're
was
sure yet.
a yeah. The lead guy was a Nikto.
Yeah.
I mean, they all
So
seem pretty mercenary. So if you like, if it's either a larger reward later on or a jetpack right now, and both of your compatriots are already dead, you might just be like,
Yeah.
right, and I don't
"Give me the
know.
fucking jetpack! Like I'm out of
Like
here."
right, and I know that like couldn't understand what the alien was saying, but the alien seemed to maybe understand what Mando was saying, and Mando was like, "Look, if you take this kid, there's nowhere you can hide from me.
Right.
I will murder you."
And you.
So maybe he's like, "Okay, well, can I get a jetpack out of the deal?" I don't know, but it
Sure.
leads to this amazing moment where he runs off with the jetpack, and then Mando just very casually has a remote control for it and shoots him into the air. I guess shakes him off of the thing and lets him fall to his
Right.
death. And the child looks at him. He's just like, "Huh? What?"
I know that that
That
shrug was
shrug.
like
Gotta do what you
golden.
gotta do.
Yeah. Which again, like the physical acting of Mando, like cannot be praised enough.
Because
It's
No.
so
again,
good.
like you don't have a facial expression. You just
Right.
have that like, and you
But
know
there's so
exactly
yeah, but
what
there's
he's
so much
saying.
emotion. There's so
Hmm.
much. I loved doing mask work in college. You know, working on my theater degree. I always
Hmm.
thought it was really fun, and this is exactly what that is.
Hmm.
These are classic styles of stage acting that we're putting on screen. Really,
Hmm. Absolutely.
absolutely.
So then moving on from that scene, so great cold open, and you get the Mandalorian, and then we move on to the next part, which looks like it's almost like a Lawrence of Arabia walking through the
Yeah,
desert
like Lone
sequence.
Ranger kind of
Yeah, which is
thing.
beautifully shot. I love
Yeah.
that shot. And then we get to our next scene, which is the everyday I'm hustling scene. We go back to the cantina, and
Good old Amy Sedaris.
Amy Sedaris is back, Pelimato, and I this might be my favorite like appearance of her thus far. Like seeing her like hustling at Sabak against the so his name, I don't know if it's his actual name, but Dr.
I
Mandible.
I hope to God it's not. Like I hope his name is like only its name is only pronounceable in like its language,
Hmm.
and as a jibe, she calls him Dr. Mandible.
Yeah.
That
Like
was my
so,
assumption.
you know what I mean? Dr. Mandible over here, Dr. Beanie wearing guy, over here, like
Yeah.
because it's like because as a listening to some of my other Star Wars podcasts, I have become of the opinion that like a lot of the Star Wars naming conventions are so on the nose that it's getting a bit like much. So be like, all right, we can not. It's not Doctor Antamana. Like, no, it's I don't know. Like, give him another name. You don't have to call it Giant Ant.
Yeah, but I love that scene. I think that scene is amazing. Like, I love seeing her, like, kind of in her element. Like, she's obviously very at home there. She's having a good time. She hustles the guy. It's pretty great.
So is that based on the layout? Because are we at the Isley Cantina or are we in a
I
different?
believe that was back in the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Right, that's what I thought. So is that the table? Is that the table where Han shot Greedo?
I feel
Oh.
like that's like the only table people sit at in that place.
You know what I mean? Just based
Yeah.
on like the orientation of the bar.
Let's see. I'm
It's
looking
like
it up
instead of the
now.
smoking section, it's like this human section. It's
Right.
like the place where the humans are allowed to sit.
Yes, that is the Mos Eisley Cantina, which is actually
it's
the
got
Salmon's Spaceport Cantina. So it's got to be, right?
It's gotta be. It's gotta be
Yes.
because they still showed us the IG-88 heads
Mm-hmm.
like behind the bar, which hopefully like for people, what I hope is that people who don't know that like IG-88 really like originally was a head in a background shot and then they repurposed it for another droid. I really hope people are just watching The Mandalorian and being like, oh my god, they just like put the droids' heads and when they're done and they make them taps. Like, oh god, what kind of cannibalism is this?
I mean, that's pretty raw, right? Like,
Yeah.
That is great. I did want to say before we get too far into it,
Yeah.
with the because with the Marshall, like with that title card, when it came up, I was like, oh shit, I know exactly what's about to happen. Like I know who he's about to meet because I knew who the Marshall was from reading.
You read Aftermath.
Reading Aftermath.
Yeah.
And then this one, I was like, the passenger, and I was like, I got nothing. I have no idea what this could be about. That's like so vague.
Yeah.
You know, which I was like, all right, cool. I was kind of hoping for another thing that I'd be like, oh, I recognize that. Because it's like, I think to think that anybody reads the books and watches the movies and watches the TV show is a lot. But to think that people watch the movies and the TV show, not so far fetched.
Mm-hmm.
So like to me, anytime like book things are referenced in film or TV, I'm like, that's a deep cut. That's like the beginning of deep cut for me.
For sure.
Like
There's like so many deep cuts, like little references in the sides, like in the backgrounds of each of these episodes. If you are a fan of the extended universe stuff, like it is a treasure trove of Easter eggs for you.
which is fun for me because I haven't read any of that stuff. Like, I'm really just a movie fan. So and some of the TV, but not much of it. So
yeah. So he links back up with Pelimato. They go back to her garage and fry up some some crate dragon meat.
Rotisserie dragon.
Dragon on the bobby.
Yeah, medium rare. She's not a Rhodian, which I think is a little specious, but it's fine. And I love that. I love like yeah, but I love it like Baby Yoda is looking at the meat just in anticipation, like, oh, we're about to eat, but then also like it's being prepared by like Wally. Like
Johnny number 5 kind of like
Wally. Yeah.
Treadwell.
Yeah, the Treadwell. That's right. Treadwell. It looks like Wally.
Yeah, which I assume that's not the same Treadwell that was on Luke's moisture farm.
No, it could be.
I mean, it could be, but like, it very well could be because I'm sure the Jawas scavenge the droids and they sell them to other people, or the prevailing theory that like the Empire, I think the Empire would have collected all of the droids that were at Luke's farm when they like raided the place.
Right.
They were looking for droids, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then like so there maybe the storm did the stormtroopers know they were looking for a 3PO and an R2 unit? I don't know. But I think if they're like, look, sir, droids, they would pick up every droid. They'd be like, guys, grab every droid. We don't want to piss off Darth Vader. Just grab every droid. Or like, Treadwell is just it's the brand.
Yeah, it's a popular droid.
Everybody,
Yeah.
Everybody says, "Hey Siri," but like,
Hey,
everybody's
Treadwell.
got a different phone.
Well, roast me
So
with some dragon meat.
yeah. So now we find out what this week's knight errant quest is going to be, and there's um this character that we only know as the Frog Lady. It never really give her name. We're not really sure, what her name is. I don't believe I've ever seen her species before in Star
I,
Wars
I don't
either.
think so either. I don't think I've even heard of
Yeah.
frog people.
And she's got to get her eggs to her partner so that he can fertilize them. And so Mando's going to take her, but the catch is cannot, can't go into hyperdrive. No light speed, has to be sublight drive the whole way. Otherwise that could kill
The
the
egg,
unfertilized eggs, and
which
that would end her
which then,
line. I guess this is like the last time that she can
yeah,
produce eggs. Maybe they only produce eggs once, and then those
yeah,
get fertilized.
maybe.
That's how they continue. I'm not sure.
Or she's about to hit frog menopause.
Yeah, frog menopause is
Yes.
happening. And that I found that interesting. I really love the design of that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah,
sentient frog. I have no problem with like it's space frog. It's
yeah,
space frog.
can't go wrong with space frogs.
What are we gonna do next, guys? Space frog, space frog,
Solid.
Done.
Solid choice.
Sold.
which I thought was interesting. And now there is this interesting thing that there's an inherent danger in hyperspace travel. Like pregnant mothers should not travel through hyperspace.
Yeah, that's a new
Mhm.
Like what
twist in the universe that I didn't know about.
right. What happens if your kid is born interstellar travel? Like what is there something gonna
Right.
be
It's
wrong?
like the equivalent of like living too close to cell phone towers, just right. Like
Right.
maybe there's some sort of radiation they're exposed to. We're not sure. But,
That's
like I
a
found
fun
that
can
very
of worms.
interesting.
That's a
Yeah.
fun can of worms. It's a can of worms I don't need them to explore.
No,
I just want to think about it.
Put
but
it on
it's
the
nice
shelf.
that it's there. It shows that like this world has consequences. There's certain things that you can't do, right? Like I always love that extra layer of effort in storytelling. Um so we're taking the mama to what's the moon? Trask?
Yeah, crash.
Yeah. The estuary moon of Trask according to Wikipedia.
What does
Um
estuary mean?
I don't know.
In
Ray?
space terms, I don't know, but in Earth terms, it's the place where a river meets. It's like where it gets where the river meets the sea. Really, it's like in that space, and it's what usually when it sort of spreads out
Mhm.
a lot, and so it goes sort of from like a river to sort of like a wetland kind of
Okay.
area.
So it's like where those two junction points meet.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
think it's usually brackish water, maybe too, because
Okay.
it's fresh.
Versus maybe I think if we're dealing with frog people, it probably means something very similar.
Right.
Yeah,
We're,
one would
we're, we're
assume.
dealing with something quite similar then.
It's
Yeah.
probably a great place to fertilize eggs.
You need
Yeah.
to be a frog.
And speaking of eggs, on the travel, we find out that Baby Yoda very much, very much likes unfertilized frog lady eggs. And
Oh my god.
so we run into an issue where Baby Yoda keeps like, and this is a running theme throughout the episode where Baby Yoda eats this woman's children. It's pretty fucked up, actually.
There's so many like ethical qualms and quandaries and like what does it mean? Like what is sentience? And like should we all just be vegan because we can't eat another living creature ever? But like it's
It's a
also a
lot.
baby, so like they could have meant it as like a joke, and it's just kind of dark humor. It's like kind of dark, right?
It's a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit like he's eating her
dark.
babies. It's also a little bit like he's just eating eggs. Who even knows? But like the way that they have him eat it, it's like because it's like bigger than his mouth, and somehow he just sucks
Right.
it in, and
It,
it's like no consequence. Like you don't even see him chew. It's just like
no, straight down the
Yeah.
gut.
amazing.
And
If-
well,
if-
I think it does warrant a conversation about the morality of Baby Yoda.
Yes.
I think it really does because okay, so in season one we see Baby Yoda just like eating whole ass frogs, right?
Mhm.
And when we see when Baby Yoda sees the children react badly to that, he spits out the frog in season 1.
Oh yeah.
This time he's getting that same like, no, that's not a good thing, and he does it anyway. I find that very interesting. And we've also seen Baby Yoda kind of tap into Dark Force energy when Mando is arm wrestling with Carrot in the, I think, 7th or 8th episode
Mm.
of the show.
Yeah.
You know, is Baby Yoda learning bad behavior because he's just seeing all of this gray area stuff? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Or
I
is
mean,
he just a toddler and you tell him to not do something and he does it anyway? Like it's
right.
hard.
I think it's both. I think it's him testing the waters. It's doing exactly what a toddler would do. And yeah, Baby Yoda's learning the gray side of things because that's where the Mandalorian lives. That's where
Mhm.
our boy. Oh God, what's the character's name? What's Mando's actual name?
Din
Din
Djarin.
Djarin.
Ginger. I don't like its name. They said it, and I was like, they said it, and I was like, oh, that's what we came up with. All right, yeah, but that's where Mando lives is that gray area. It's like his armor is gray. Like he lives in this ether of like do what you need to do to survive, and that's it. So
Mhm.
like I
Yeah.
don't know. Who knows down the road we might have Baby Yoda might be like our
Amoral.
gray force user who's like, nah, man, I'm gonna cheat at Sabak, but like I'll also help the old lady pick up her groceries if I feel like it.
Yeah, and I have some theories
Chaotic
about
evil.
Gray Jedi and the future of this series. We'll touch on that
Ooh.
on the roundup at the end here. So we then get stopped by 2 New Republic X-wing pilots. One has actually been in the show before. Trapper Wolf, who's actually played by Dave Filoni,
Dave.
um, who was in the Prisoner episode. One of the 3 X-wing pilots in the Prisoner episode
Yeah.
when they're on that prison ship.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, those other 2 pilots were Deborah Chow and Rick Famuyiwa were the other 2 pilots, and that all 3 of them directors on this series,
Nice.
which I love. I found it interesting in the scene that that Mando says, "May the Force be with you," because he seems to be completely ignorant about Jedi, but yet he knows "May the Force be with you." I'm very confused about what he knows and what he doesn't know.
What I think, I think a lot of people are getting hung up on the idea that like the Force belongs to the Jedi. And
Hmm.
while Jedi are the monastic order that like deal with the Jedi, as it seems interesting to quote Obi-Wan in this movie, the Force surrounds all living things, right? You know, binds the galaxy together. So I think like the galaxy at large is going to have this vague idea of the Force, right? Almost in the sense that like most Americans have a vague idea of what Christianity is because it's so sewn into the fabric of the nation, right? It's literally it's on our money, it's in the Pledge of Allegiance you say every day. Even if you never went to church, you would have this vague notion. And so you might know through film or television or other readings, you might know peace be with you because you saw it somewhere. And you're like, oh, that belongs to that group of people. So if I ran into them, like the only thing I could pull up is may the force be with you.
So,
You
but
know?
does that then mean that the New Republic is like Jedi adjacent,
I
Jedi,
think
whatever?
is because the Jedi were so tied to the Republic before the fall, and like the truth of what happened is that the Jedi were, you know, that the Empire was this thing. I think the fact that Leia and Luke are the heroes of the rebellion, and then you know of the New Republic, because I think we're living in this time period before Luke disappeared. Like I don't think he's
Oh,
gone
okay.
yet.
Mhm.
I don't know specifically the timeline. I don't know much about like the comic, you know, those comic book things. But
Yeah.
like, I don't think he's left. I think
Got
Luke
it.
and Leia are still prominent members of the celebrities within the New Republic, because he's not like he's not a politician or anything. She is, though.
Right.
So I think
Right.
that, yeah, they're going to harken back to this order, because the Jedi, the truth of the matter is the Jedi were a force for good in it,
Mm-hmm.
and even
Right.
think of the attack on Yavin. He says, "May the Force be with you." This general in an army says that to his pilot.
Right. It's like yeah, I like the "In God We Trust" comparison. This is like,
Mm-hmm.
in in American terms, like the way like America has been kind of built on Judeo-Christian values.
Mm-hmm.
The New Republic is built on these, the Jedi religious values. I can definitely see that. And yeah, that's interesting. Also, I also have to remember that, like, within this entire war, there were like, one or two prominent force user is, in it. Everybody else was not. And even at that point, people were referring to the force as a hokey religion by that
Like,
point.
it's
There was a misinformation campaign on, on Palpatine Trump's, platform to delegitimize, you know, Jedi Jedi's, and the Force in general, so he could hoard that power. So
yeah.
that's kind of how I see that. This hot take.
Right.
Yeah, no, I like
Here
that.
in simple language terms, it's like going to Japan and all you know is konnichiwa. So like the only thing you say is someone goes konnichiwa, even if it's totally inappropriate for the thing. That's all you know how to say, and like that's what you fall on. And
Right.
I think he acts it really well when he's like, and hey, may the Force be with you. Like he's trying to get them out of there so quick. It's almost
Hmm.
like, is there a problem, officer? Like.
Yeah.
Because he gets pulled over. He gets pulled over by the space cops.
It
Yeah.
does. That's
Yeah,
exactly
no,
what
like
happens.
literally, it's like a routine traffic stop, and they're like, hey man, you don't have
Your
your
tail
Yeah.
lights are out.
your tail lights are your plates
The
are
taillights
expired. What's up with that?
happens.
And he's like, oh, like, I don't need that. They're like, oh, not anymore. That was interesting. So we also get a little taste into like how the New Republic is asserting some new rules, some more, more regulating and tracking of people within the galaxy. I found that very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so that leads to a thrilling chase, to borrow an Aladdin parlance. And I love that chase sequence.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love that chase
That
sequence.
one's great. Yeah.
It was so
Oh,
good, and like I'm consistently impressed by the level of quality of their special effects.
yes.
Besides the pit droids in the previous episode, they looked really, really bad.
I
But whatever money they saved there, they definitely put into this chase sequence.
just have a love for all the like short anything in Star Wars that's like under 4 feet tall is immediately just a comedic. Is just used for comedic effect. Except Yoda, like, and he's funny, but like he can be poignant. But like
Hmm.
other than that, anything else shorter than 4 feet is immediately just a punchline. And I don't have a problem with that. Like I would just watch pit droids for like 30 minutes do pratfalls. It's like vaudeville.
Like Minions, like that's like the Star Wars
Oh
Minions or pit
God.
droids. Like if you had like a pit droids like animated film, with
I'd
like
watch it.
Pelimato is the Gru, and it's like her legion
I'd
of pit
watch
droids
it.
that she's collected from the defunct pod racing industry. So the thrilling chase ends with the Razor Crest falling into this hole.
Oh God.
Mando seemingly just gives up, which I thought was super weird, and I thought that was not the best writing right there. He's just, oh yeah, I give up on this mission. Let's just go to sleep. It seemed kind of out of character for Den. So I that bumped me as weird. What were your thoughts on that, you two lovelies?
Ray, what do you think?
Um, part of it felt a little bit like I have a fuck ton of work to do on this machine, and I'm gonna need to like sleep on this before I get up and do all that work in the fucking cold. And like I'm already annoyed by this entire mission, so maybe we should just sleep and not like bang on shit because I'll probably just like break it more. But
Hmm.
um because I mean he's sort of like, we're not getting there anytime soon. I have a lot of shit.
Yeah, but I felt like if they went to sleep, they probably would have just froze to death.
You know, I actually have this question on Tatooine. Is Mandalorian armor, like when it's done right and well like his, is there any like body temperature regulation? Because he walks around the Tatooine twin suns and like nothing
Wearing
face
chrome.
right.
He
Like
probably smells so bad in that thing if there is no environmental control.
there's got to be some sort of internal regulation, you know, some sort of regulation in it. Because it's a more modern armor, because it was newly minted.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And as much, you know, because even like you think of like, you know, elite troopers in our own military. Like sure they can wear all that gear, but like if they're in the dip, they're gonna sweat, they're gonna be hot. Like you have to regulate your body temperature.
Yeah.
I wonder if like he's good and he gives her the blankets and then he just cuddles Baby Yoda close, keeps him warm.
Oh, my favorite scene.
When
Baby Yoda was just like, let's just crawl up next to you and lay down. I was like, oh my God, it's so cute. It's so.
This was a Baby Yoda heavy episode, and
it was very,
noises
very
that
Baby
I would
Yoda.
be
The
embarrassed.
first episode was not.
Right.
Yeah, there was barely any Baby Yoda. Barely any Baby Yoda sounds.
It was sad.
But this one was just like left and right. Baby Yoda's like pointing and stuff and running. You know, like there's so many cute little Baby Yodas eating eggs.
We cannot rest on our baby.
Our second egg consumption happens.
Yep.
In this moment when he goes down to check on Baby Yoda and the eggs, amazed that containment unit didn't break and all of that. Yeah, so there's it's an interesting moment, but it leads to our next sequence, which I love this sequence. Also, I did write in my notes before we get to that sequence that Mama does not take no for an answer. Mama is like no. We're not doing this. I thought Mandalorian and I loved her resourcefulness to repurpose the droid from the prisoner to speak with Mando was really cool. And we get what's the guy's name from the IT crowd?
Richard Ayoade.
Yeah, get him back for a quick little cameo. I thought that was awesome.
Well, because I was super confused. I was like, why is this scene from the prison break episode in the recap? Like that was last season. And then cool. There's that. There's why that's there, because they're like, we need to remind them of this like ancillary character. So, like, at this point, 4 or 5 episodes ago, over a year ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, cool. Great. Thanks.
Yeah. So he does what he can. They finally like goes back out to the ship. That's the thing. Baby Yoda comes out and is like pointing like something's wrong. And he follows Baby Yoda.
He like fixed the ship. What I didn't like was I didn't get that like this big time lapse had happened.
Right.
Because whatever he did between Mama's come to Jesus moment and Baby Yoda pointing she's gone, got the ship to a point where it could fly.
Right.
And they could get to their next destination.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't steal the hull because it can't be. Like it was just a giant hole. So I was like, oh, I did not realize that like time had passed.
Yeah, they needed to do one of those while he's
I needed Baby Yoda carrying like tiny crossbeams.
I needed a montage. You needed a
montage of him like working on the ship and Baby Yoda just stealing eggs. Like I wanted like there to be one egg left by the time it was over. Like if you're gonna do that, then just
because then she wouldn't have saved him later.
So Baby Yoda's like, hey, something's up. Goes to find her. She has found a natural hot spring and she is just living her best life. And like letting her eggs get some nice warm water and just relaxing. Yeah, some frog lady self-care. That's real. And Baby Yoda tries to eat another egg. Mando's like, oh my God.
Now it's
what is wrong with you? Stop.
Now it's a poached egg.
Yeah, it's a poached egg, yeah. It's like, what, you bound Maria an egg, I'm gonna eat it, and so then Baby Yoda turns around and finds this little egg. It
Egg sacks everywhere.
egg sacs everywhere, like opens it up. It opens up like something out of Aliens.
Yeah.
Really reminiscent of that. There's this gross little spider that
Flower
Baby Yoda
shape.
just eats. This kid eats everything.
It's like a squid head shaped spider, white spider nonsense.
I think, and maybe you can confirm this, Maui. I think it's a Kinnereth.
I
Ooh.
don't know. I think is that from Rebels?
That's Knights of the Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic. I did
Ooh.
not
The
clock it as
original.
such. I haven't done Knights of the Old Republic in a very long time.
It's like the only video game I played for like 6 years.
It's such a good game.
They're so good.
That's interesting. Then that's a tie-in from a video game.
Yeah.
That's the only place you would have found that character before.
In my research, I saw it as possibly adapted from some early Ralph McQuarrie artwork.
It could be. That may be where they got the idea of the Kinnereth from, is from a McCoy thing. But like the white spider-like creature is with them in the game, instead of that like mouth thing that they have like another arm that is like where the mouth thing is, and it like jabs at you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I think they can poison you.
So
Don't like.
yeah, the
Very
Navi White
similar.
Spider was so what I'm seeing on Den of Geeks coverage, they said that this goes back to concept art from The Empire Strikes Back from Ralph McQuarrie, where a Spider Queen was depicted laying eggs on Dagobah as Luke looked on. It never actually made it into the movie, but it did appear in Legends continuity in the novel Darksaber by Kevin J. Anderson. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe Knights of the Republic like tweaked the spider idea.
Yeah,
because you find them on Dantooine in the Crystal Caves.
Yeah. And then on Rebels, there was another spider species that looked similar to that, the Krykna, that appear on Rebels, that Kanan learns to control with the Force. But they were more formidable than these because they were resistant to blaster bolts as well. So.
Yes, that was yes.
What we're learning is that the universe, no matter where you go in the universe, large spiders are fucking scary.
Yes, absolutely. And it was like, it turned into like Shelob's lair.
So quick.
So
it was
quick.
Awful.
It
I
was
made other
terrifying.
awful noises at that time.
Like maybe too scary for a Star Wars property. Like it was like legitimately like kind of freaky for me.
Yeah.
Like a little scarier than I think I would want in my Star Wars. Like ultimately, I think no matter what the property is, it has to be something that's palatable for kids. I do firmly believe that. And so I was like
how many children's things from like the late 80s and early 90s traumatized a generation.
I mean, if Lord of the Rings can have massive spiders,
number one,
Harry Potter can have massive spiders.
Watership Down. Like Watership
Down. Jesus. Oh.
like, Never Ending. Is it Never Ending Story? It's the one with the horse.
When he's drowning in the quicksand. That's a terrible scene. Oh my god.
Like there are times where you gotta push the limit a little bit.
Yeah.
All the time. But
that's fair.
Okay, but here's my question: Would you want to keep these spiders, or would you have wanted like a Wampa variant? Because we were on
because they did it effectively. They did it effectively. So if you're gonna do it right, and they did it right. So I guess I'm okay with it. It's just a little scary for my tastes in the Star Wars property. I don't think I would want a Wampa variety though. I do think they made a good decision with what they did. What about you,
Ray? Massive amounts of spiders chasing anyone, especially Baby Yoda, is rough.
There was a scene when Baby Yoda ran into the Razor Crest, where you see him like kind of scuttle across like the hall. It was the cutest thing. I rewound it like 3 times.
I want like one shot of like Mando ahead, Frog Lady full
Oh my
frog,
gosh.
and like Baby Yoda like struggling. Like I just want like one shot of Baby Yoda just like, and then he turns around and picks him up. He's like, oh, I gotta carry him because
Your Baby Yoda run was perfect.
his legs can't move.
Oh,
That was some good physicality there for your Baby Yoda run.
Well,
Exactly what he looks like.
it's funny, but puppets still can't bend their knees. Like they can't.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a Yoda variety, I mean, if it's a Yoda species, if it's the same species as Yoda, it's got to move like Yoda, just younger.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But
and though we do, yeah. So I'm interested to see as Baby Yoda like grows into the Force, because like Yoda could do some pretty incredible stuff when he needed to, as we saw in the prequel trilogy. So that will be interesting to see once, if and when we get to that with Baby Yoda.
I will say every time there's like a lingering shot on Baby Yoda in any sort of like threatening situation, I'm like, is this when he does Force lightning?
right? I sit there and I'm like, is he going to interfere? Is he going to do something?
It was just gas.
In season 1, had Mando not shown up when the droid was about to hurt Baby Yoda, and Baby Yoda was sitting there in the prisoner, like with the little claw, do you think had Mando not shown up, that Baby Yoda would have totally Force lightninged or force like choked that droid?
Probably.
His head would have exploded.
Yeah. Probably, I think.
But so. I loved it, like when Mando, like, so just to go back to that episode for just a quick sec, when Mando takes down the droid, and then Baby Yoda like opens his eyes and sees that the droid is down, and just goes, "What? Did I do that?" Like it's like my favorite sight gag.
That is a really great moment.
So it's so good. It's so good. So we retreat all the way to the cockpit. It seemingly all is going to be lost. There's a harrowing moment where there's a spider on Baby Yoda's head, and Baby Yoda's freaking out. Once again, lots of cute Baby Yoda moments.
So many good ones.
Yeah.
I know his hands are too short.
Like, even in the terrifyingness, like the cuteness of Baby Yoda is undeniable. It looks like we're gonna get away, but then a second one of the giant Shelobs crashes through the top, and it's seemingly all is lost, which brings us to our last sequence, a sequence that I don't particularly like. I call this Deus Ex Wing. Nice. It just comes out of nowhere.
Wait, I just realized, can we go back 1 second, that when there's the spider on Baby Yoda's head and he's freaking out, the way that he does not get eaten by the spider on his head is that Frog Lady has a tiny little blaster and straight up just shoots all the spiders right by Baby Yoda and saves the day.
Frog Lady shoots first.
Yep, Frog Lady shoots first. And it looks at him like, "So stop eating my children, you asshole."
I do feel like that's a little bit what he looked like. Baby Yoda, again, this is like puppetry work, maybe not mask work, but like Baby Yoda looked at her like, fair point, won't do it again. You know? Like,
or will he? Let's keep going.
Well, right, fair. Except for the one I have in my pocket.
Yeah.
And that one for the road.
Yeah, we'll get into like the implications of what that meant. Yes, okay, so now the two X-Wing pilots from earlier find them and take out all of the spiders, save their lives. Turns out that they ended up running Mando's plates and figured out that he was the guy from the Prisoner episode the Trapper Wolf was also in. And they know from the security footage that he saved the New Republic Guard and imprisoned the three criminals that he was working with, and so they do him a favor. They don't, however, help him fix up the ship. They're like, "No, you figure it out," and
They say, according to security footage, blah, 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 blah. Is that what happened? And I was like, yeah, you just said you saw it on the security footage. What do you mean? Yes.
Good call. It was like,
you literally said, we saw this on security footage. Is that what happened? Like he's gonna go, nah, you guys read that completely wrong. I absolutely did not help anybody that would help me right now. What?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then when they bail, I was immediately like, Leia would not be impressed.
No.
I was like, Leia would be so mad. She's like, you did what?
Yeah, like if you're gonna
Look,
help.
Somebody on an ice planet? Do you remember
Look,
when
not
we were on
dead.
the planet?
He could, but Mando should have said like, "Yo, like I have a pregnant frog lady on board. Can you help me out?" He never revealed who was with
Right,
him,
like,
and maybe they
oh.
would have helped if had
Okay,
they
but if
known.
you think earlier when he spoke to her and he was like, "Shut up," and they're like, "Who's with you?" Like, can you not just have people in your ship? Like, do you have to register everybody in the car? Like, that's a little weird. New Republic, because she croaked and he was like, "Shh," and they're like, "Who's with you?" And he's like, "Somebody? Doesn't
It
matter."
was the venting
Right.
of the something something.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of saying, yes, I think maybe he just didn't want to then also have to say, okay, what other life forms do you have on your ship? And he had to be like, Baby Yoda.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, can't they sense that? Don't most? I thought X-wings had like life detector readings because Luke's did. Luke
Yeah.
Luke could tell that there were no life sign readings on Dagobah. He was wrong, but that was Yoda doing. That was Yoda being Yoda.
Right.
Like,
Fucker.
So sorry. Kate is texting me.
Uh-oh.
I am recording, dear. She's like, "Why
Are
did you
you?
tell me Biden was speaking?" I'm like, I'm recording.
Oh, I'm glad Biden's speaking.
Yeah, apparently Biden's speaking. I mean, nothing's changed yet, but apparently he was speaking. So that happens. Then the little button is they're they get the ship working, they're taking off. Baby Yoda looks back at a frog lady and she like holds her children tightly to her chest and Baby Yoda's like, "Yeah, we're cool now." And then turns around and then pulls out of his little pocket another frog egg and just one more little slurp, just like, but I already had this one, so it doesn't count. so
road.
so did he just
Amazing.
have that for a while in his pocket?
One assumes.
One assumes. You know what? There is time between Deus Ex X-Wing and them leaving, like because he's still got to repair the cockpit, which we did get a montage for. They just put the montage there. That
Right.
I would have been fine with a jump cut. Like that would have worked as a jump cut. But so maybe that's where Baby Yoda did that.
Maybe she gave him one and said, "This is the last one you'll ever eat. You cannot eat any more."
I feel like she wouldn't just give one of her kids away.
It's not actually a kid yet. It hasn't been fertilized.
True. Yes.
I believe all of us in this room are pro-choice and would agree that an embryo is not.
Yes. But she is trying to get pregnant. These are her last eggs because she is going through.
She does want every one of these to become a viable.
Right. Frog lady menopause is nigh. So, and it is her choice to have those kids if she wants to. And Baby Yoda is just like, no, it's not. It's just kind of messed up. So that's the episode. I think it's a weird episode. I feel like it's a little strange for the usual conventions of the Mandalorian, of what we've seen thus far. It's a little silly with the running gag of Baby Yoda eating this lady's eggs. But I also think it's an effective
5 Baby
episode.
Yoda heads because there's so much Baby Yoda in it.
Oh, we'll talk.
I know. Yes.
We'll see. I think you telegraphed your choice.
I think it's definitely going to be one of those things where it'll work really well in conjunction with episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Where like if the episodes could be an hour and a half long,
right?
That's what, or 2 hours long. Like this is this part of the movie, right? But
exactly.
like we have to chop it up here, and they're like maybe it's not the strongest, but we're early enough in the season that we're not going to lose people entirely. You know,
Right.
it stands on its own, but it's not great because you can chop up your favorite book into many places, and chapter 5 is not always going to be. It's not not everything can have this great arc all the time. I think
Right.
we'd get honestly, I think we'd get tired of it.
Yeah, and my hope is that we don't get a time jump in the next one, and it's just like, oh, now we're on another mission. I would like to like see the wrap up
Yeah.
with the frog lady. Like, I do want to see some resolution to that, because she did very much grow on me throughout the episode. Like, I loved all the elements of the episode, but I just felt there was no payoff yet.
Right.
It was just like we survived a thing, and largely just because people showed up and saved us. There's nothing that any of the characters did to get themselves out of the situation. So I'm still waiting
Not in that
for
episode.
not in that episode. So like you said, like if episode 3 gives me like the resolution of this arc, maybe it's a 2-episode arc, then I think I'll retroactively like this episode more.
Right. That was what I felt about it too, that like we got to the end of the episode and I was like, okay, so that's the first half of that story.
Yeah.
What's the second half going to be?
But you're very right. We could very well get a jump and not see. No, you know what? It has to be, because what we really haven't done is find them more Mandalorians.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the husband who knows where the Mandalorians are. So we've got to interact with Mr. Frog.
We do.
Mr. Frog, that's his name.
So now I really don't think we're going to get that time jump.
Yeah.
I will say though, the payoff for me of this entire episode was watching the back hatch of the Razor Crest like flash.
Razor Crest is jacked.
It's such a piece of junk right now.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love it. You're like, oh. Great, love it, keep it.
So I don't have much in the way of Easter eggs on this episode, except for, as we mentioned, Dave Filoni. We see as Trapper Wolf again, who was previously seen in The Prisoner. Trapper Wolf, the name Wolf is used because Dave Filoni loves wolves and often includes them in his work. The other X-Wing pilot was Captain Carson Teva. That character was played by Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, who plays Appa in the Canadian sitcom Kim's Convenience. So that's interesting. And then once again, we said we get the return of Zero from the Prisoner episode, voiced by Richard. How do you say his last name?
Richard Ayoade.
Ayoade from the IT crowd. So what's up?
I would say that Treadwell is an Easter egg. I mean,
Treadwell,
I know that, I know that she names him, but like, I think it takes the astute Star Wars viewer and like the real fan to go, oh yeah, that's that droid that Luke is with for about 10 seconds.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. But there's not a lot, comparatively speaking, in this one. I mean, we get some Rodian references, we get the Treadwell droid, but we get the Cantina again. But there's not much. Like the first episode was just like, I'm just gonna give you all the Easter eggs all over your face, neck, and chest. Like this one, there's very few.
Now we had that, and now we're just cuddling with Star Wars.
Yeah, now we're cuddling. This is the afterglow, right?
Yeah.
The first episode was the. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, the first episode was that like we're gonna set. I mean, we said this last week. We're gonna set up the exact like perfect like space cowboy trope story and just nail every one of those like tropes and just get your fix on that. And then this is the like, now we're going to give you your fix on Baby Yoda, like,
sure,
because it didn't have that same, none of this, there was nothing in this one that felt like it was like lining up all of those like tropes that we've been seeing,
because those two things are like super different, right? Like space western and adorable child puppet. They like don't really mix, and that's the fun juxtaposition for us. But like to tell their stories at the same time, like how are you gonna,
Yeah, it's the rare episode that's gonna be able to like satisfy both of those really well.
To tell those two at the same time, I would I would struggle, and I haven't rewatched the first season since I watched it a year ago.
Yeah.
But like, I can't think of an episode where I'd be like, yeah, we get like a buttload of adorable Baby Yoda and really good space western.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's happened yet.
I think the one I would point to is the Jurassic Park episode, the one that Bryce Dallas Howard directs,
The
where
the
he's like
the
saving the small town. That one has a
the
decent amount of Baby Yoda love.
yeah, that was the closest one, and that one is a bit like formulaic for me
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, in terms of like Western kind of dude that way. So I was like, nah,
Yeah. And like
yeah.
she instantly fell in love with him. It's like, you could build a life here. And he's just like, I can't. I have to go hit the road again. Like, it's like,
standard
listen.
Western
Yes.
fare.
Yeah, I've
Right.
seen it. It's one of my favorite. Ironically, it's one of my favorite episodes of Stargate. Is that is that kind of episode?
Oh, uh-huh.
They have one of those early on in season one, and it's one of my favorite episodes. But on Mandalorian, I was like, nah, not for my.
Yeah. So a couple questions here. First question, and I asked it a little bit earlier, but I want some final answers on this. Is Baby Yoda turning into an asshole?
I think Baby Yoda's turning into a toddler.
I firmly am gonna go with the toddler camp.
Okay.
Like,
So we're gonna be on Baby Yoda asshole watch to see, like, I'm worried that Baby Yoda is because there's no one to help him like learn about his power, that he might start to tap into like a dark side and just like an abuse of his power. And so I'm definitely going to be watching that for a while, seeing how that develops. I felt like that moment where he almost chokes out Kara is foreshadowing that, and that Mando maybe needs to start thinking about, modeling a better way for the kid.
I mean, is
So
that not why he's trying to get to the other Mandalorian?
yeah, that's why he's trying to get Baby Yoda to other Force users, because he goes like, I
right.
don't have facilities to train to deal with this child at all. But
Mhm.
I think with the choke, like, you got to remember, Baby Yoda is like part child and toddler and part like puppy. You know, you get a new puppy, you play fight with the owner, and that puppy will attack you. But like maybe 20 minutes later, will be cuddling up in your lap.
Mhm.
Like, I think at some point, to protect our people is a primal sort of instinct, and not um and not a dark side or light side thing. Once we get Baby Yoda, like, if we ever got Baby Yoda like choking somebody out so that he could get food even though he has food, like, that's when we worry.
Sure.
But I think so far it's all been in the name of protecting the only other thing in its life.
That's I think that's a fair assessment. I think we don't have enough information yet, so that is something that I'm going to be watching closely throughout
Sure.
this season. This also leads me to my second question, and that is about the Jedi that they will eventually find. Now, as we know, like none of the Force users that they would be able to find outside of like Luke or Leia are actually Jedi at this point, right? Like they've all like left that order, that monastic order behind. Um, and so I have a theory that I want to run past the two of you and see what you think.
Okay. So it's not a question. You just want us to weigh in on your theory.
I want you to weigh in on the theory. Yes. Yes.
Subtle difference.
It
Subtle
depends. It
difference.
depends on how that determines how I listen to what you're about to say.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So we know that Ahsoka Tano is going to be in this. I'm wondering if we're going to kind of touch on he finds a Jedi, once he finds the Jedi, if the Jedi actually take the baby, then it's over. So my thought is, they say, well, there is no Jedi anymore. Like that order is gone. That order is dead. What you need to do is find the child's species, find his home planet.
Mm.
So like I wonder if that'll happen, and that's just going to lead to like the next phase of the quest in finding someone to actually take care of the kid.
Yeah, I think that's a solid way for it to possibly go. Yeah, because the armorer's quest was like you must find its people, and I think the implication is that is force users. That is its people, not literally other little green men. Because as an audience member, we don't know that there were any other little green men. To us, this child is the only little green dude in the galaxy. Because as an audience, as a Star Wars fan viewer, we know so much more than the Mandalorian about the universe at large. So like we know there isn't, as far as we know, there isn't a planet of Yodas.
Mm-hmm.
If we go, we got to find somebody who can look after the child. We go, okay, well, it needs to be another Force user, which therefore would be a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why he was such a highly prized target from the beginning? Was because he's this tiny force using being? Like why was he given this bounty?
I think it's because like the Empire knows at least that this child is like Yoda. Like the Empire knows who Yoda is, and high enough ranking members of the Empire are going to know who and what Yoda was. To know that like, oh, this thing is like that, so we need to figure it.
I
That's my
think.
Sure.
I think that either it's that or the Camino scientists cloned Yoda, like found some genetic tissue of Yoda, like some hair from his hut on Dagobah, and cloned Yoda. And that baby is like a perfect clone of Yoda, and they're trying to use that clone to harvest that species' innate strong connection with the Force.
sure.
Are we
That's
40
smart.
years after the events?
Yoda's probably been dead for, my guess would be in our terms 6 or 7 years, maybe by this point.
Yeah, because we're not very long after the
This is
event.
like 5 years post Jedi.
Yeah, and
But
Yoda
He
wasn't
dies early on in that movie, so I would say like maybe 6 years since Yoda passed away. But that doesn't make sense though because this baby's 50.
or 40 or something. It's
yeah, the baby.
between 40 and 50.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think. I don't. I really don't think Disney is gonna touch clones. Like, I don't think Disney's gonna produce anything that has to do with new kinds of cloning. I think cloning is solely gonna live in the Clone Wars with the clone troopers. And if they're gonna develop any more stories about that, it's gonna live in that realm, and they're not gonna bring it forward because then it becomes, I think that's touching too closely on the legend stuff about the Clone War, about what the Clone Wars was. Like the original Thrawn trilogy, it dealt with the Clone Wars and the evil clone masters in a totally different way that
Mm-hmm.
Lucas bulldozed when he made Episode 2.
Yeah. I
Um,
love
Oh,
the
he
Thrawn
jossed
trilogy
it?
so much. Yes.
huh?
He jossed it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. This is early on. But then like some of the characters from that original Thrawn trilogy survived, even though like George Lucas's stuff in Episode 2 totally negates the thing. Because briefly, like the Clone Wars was the galaxy, like the Republic, against evil clone masters who had created a clone army that fought the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Got
the
it.
original. That's what the Clone Wars was in Legend, or in the original expanded universe. And then when Episode 2 comes out, and it's like, oh no, the clones are on our side. All of that stuff is like,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
that's totally
immediately
different.
it was like, but characters from that book then showed up in other books that were written after Attack of the Clones.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Like they still pulled material from that. But yeah, I think Ahsoka is. I think you're right in the fact that like Ahsoka is Endgame.
Yeah. So I will say if they want to tie it into the clone to the prequel trilogy, 50-year-old baby probably would fit that timeline. So that is interesting.
Well,
Like he could have been cloned during the Clone Wars,
Oh, I see.
well,
like early on in that.
20. So that's 5. So that's 20. It's 5. So if we go 5 years since the end of Jedi, and then it's like another 5 years to A New Hope. Between like Jedi and A New Hope is like 5 years. So that's 10, and then it's 20 years to Revenge of the Sith. So now we're at 30.
30.
Another 20 years before that puts us in between 1 and 2.
Right. Which is when the clones are being developed. It's right, that could be interesting. Either that or Yoda and Yaddle were just knocking boots. I don't know. That's the only other member of the species that we've seen besides Baby Yoda is Yaddle.
Yep. There's nothing in canon about her except the fact that she is on the council.
Yeah. So they could have hooked up. They could have been, friends with benefits. Maybe they hooked up on like Jedi Tender. I don't know.
No information about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know there
So
was such a person.
She's in episode 1. She's in the council. She's in the council scene in episode 1. If you look around the room, there is a Yoda with hair, and it is Yaddle.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's I think that's our coverage of this episode. Last thing to do is to give it your rating. Thomas, since you're the newbie in our review, I'll let you give it your rating first. Out of 5 Baby Yodas.
5 Baby Yodas. Okay. Well, I think because we do a lot of comparing on these episodes to themselves, I'm going to briefly go with my first. I'm going to say if you would ask me for the first one.
Yes.
I will give the first one like 4.5, as close to 5, but not 5 Baby Yodas, because I do not think perfection is attainable. Somebody will always there will always be something to criticize. There will always be dissenting opinions. Like I just want, but it was really, 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 really good. So then 2, with The Passenger, I'm going to give that like 3.5, because I think we've kind of agreed, like, there was some good stuff. It didn't really go anywhere. The ethical and moral issues brought up by eating unfertilized frog eggs with the intention of them being fertilized is a bit heady for Star Wars and this adorable baby to be doing. So I'm going to go with like 3.5 Baby Yodas.
I think that's fair. Ray, what's your rating?
Okay. Well, can it be a provisional rating?
Yes.
Because I feel like I might have a different rating after the next episode. Because I feel like this is a first half of a storyline. So on the assumption that the second half or the next episode is the second half of this storyline, and that it will deliver and things won't feel so like unfinished,
Yeah.
It just feels very not half-assed necessarily, but like it's just uneven and half of a whole. And yeah, right. Things don't feel like there's no like there's not a full there. There's not a full story. And so on the assumption that the second half of it is going to deliver, and given the fact that the Baby Yoda content was off the charts on this one, I also want to give it a what did I do last time? 4.2.
You gave it 4.2 last time.
4.2 because there was not enough Baby Yoda content. So this is a 4.8, assuming that the second half is going to like bring it all together. I might retroactively give it less if next episode does not.
Okay. So you like really lean on Baby Yoda at like the Baby Yoda content as a metric for how good the episode is.
It's definitely a part of what's going on here. Yes, yes. It was not. So the first episode last time we talked it was very like it like set a thing up and delivered and delivered and delivered and delivered and it delivered every single thing that you wanted from that kind of episode, except no Baby Yoda content. So that was we really loved that episode, but like I want this. I don't know. I don't know
It's
how to
the core
rate it
relationship is Mando and Baby Yoda. So if it's lacking in Baby Yoda, I think fundamentally there's just something missing.
Right, but we got some really great Mando content last episode. His like amazing save the day moment was really stellar. Anyway, I don't know how to rate it without seeing the second half of the story.
Provisional 4.8.
Basically. Right.
Okay.
So, I don't know where I'm going to go from there, but it's fine.
So 3.5, 4.8. So I think I land somewhere in the middle, probably trending closer to Thomas. I thought that the first episode had a much stronger narrative arc. And I always give higher marks for that within the self-contained product, right? Even if it's the first half of something, I need enough resolution, but then also enough connective tissue for the next thing to be able to resolve the thing. I do think that this does a decent job at that, not a great job. I feel like the egg thing was played as more of a gag, and I think that there's some heady implications that should actually be addressed there. So I do ding it a bit for that. So I think I'm going to give it 4 Baby Yodas. So 4 Baby Yodas is going to be my give on this. There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's our episode. We will be back next week for the 3rd episode to talk about that and all things Mando. Also be on the lookout. We will be hopefully announcing in the next week or so that we will be creating a Discord channel for all of this talk to be done, and not just for Mando, but for other things as well, other fandoms. We will be creating a Discord channel for all the nerd talks and try and create a supportive community for talking about story and fandom in an intersectional way. And we are bringing in the wonderful Thomas to help us with that. So we're pretty excited about that because I just enjoy talking about these things, and I can't wait to have a community space for us to do that in. So Thomas, I want to thank you so much for that, and I'd love to get your thoughts real quick before we sign off on what a community like that could be.
So the something where it's all discussion with no how do I want to phrase this? With no like where no one knows everything, right? Like I don't care if you saw Star Wars in the theater 100 times in 1977. You still don't know everything there is to know about this because you don't have the experiences of a 14-year-old girl, a black man, an amputee. Like you don't have all of the world lenses that you could see this thing through. And so I don't care if we're talking about Star Wars, Marvel, fantasy books, Lord of the Rings. Like there's always a reason someone else loves the thing, and you're going to learn so much about it that way, right? Like I told Maui, I am confirmed cis heterosexual male. I'm sorry, basic. What am I going to do about it? But like, and because of that, like one of my mottos is there's nothing sexier than a girl who talks about Star Wars. So like, I do not want to listen to another 40-year-old white dude talk about Star Wars again. I want to hear about the girls who were like, oh my God, Ray is me, or I'm Rose, or I'm Finn, and like, or I'm Poe. and like you got into it because of that, or they're like, they're like, ooh, what is lightsaber technique? And they're like, because no one talks about that anymore. But I want this community where your tiny little nitpicky thing that you just go on a tirade about, there's 8 other people who also go on that tirade and are so with you. And I think the nerd world is begging for that. Like, I think we all have our friends, but I think to find a new place to bring that in, and to be allowed to have those opinions, and to have those opinions welcomed and discussed, and maybe changed. Like, present me with new information and let's see what happens. I love the Wheel of Time series, but it's incredibly problematic in the way it handles the main character's relationships to women, or women in general. And like, I'm going to be completely honest, I would have never known that had I not listened to 2 women talk about the book.
Mm.
And I appreciate them so much for that. I listen to them every week when they bring out that podcast. So that's what I'm looking for in this discussion.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm very excited to watch that community build up. Really excited for that, and also excited to have you as one of our rotating co-hosts on the Dope, to talk about all things pop culture. Yeah, so I can't wait for you to get in on that with us. This was a lot of fun doing this review. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 3. Thomas, would you like to join us for that one as well?
I mean, if you'll have me.
I like the dynamic.
There are other people out there who love Mando, but if you'll have me, I'll be back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
Sweet.
cool. All right.
I mean, you need the second half of the episode.
Until there's like 8 people. Like, by the time we're done, we have like 8 people just like, oh my God, Mandalorian.
That's actually not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
How watchable it'll be for anybody else. It'll be like pundits, just everybody yelling, except it's all people with.
Cool.
Well.
All right, so we're gonna sign off now. Thank you so much for listening, and tune in next week. Thank you.